Hey folks, welcome to the channel. Today I want to go over my January closeout. It's my first month using the Budget by Paycheck workbook, so things were very interesting working on this. All I've got to say is I'm very thankful for these erasable pens. So I've got everything planned out and I'm ready to go, so grab your glasses and let's get to it. Okay, let's get right on in. So we will be reviewing the monthly budget category breakdown for January. And this is my first month doing this. So it's a work in process. Let's just say that. Let me move in a little bit for you. So the top portion is pretty generic. It's kind of just the way everyone does it. You just bring over your starting balance, your earned income, other income, and any of the savings that were used. And that gets your total monthly inflow. The bottom part is what I'm kind of doing a little bit differently. And the main reason is because I want to track my credit card spending in addition to any of the amounts that come out of my checking account. So I'm going to, before we talk about this mess down here, we're going to talk about what's going on here with the budget. And again, because this is the first time I've really budgeted in this way where I'm really tracking what I'm spending. I'm saying I'm going to stick with what I budgeted. These numbers are likely to change over the course of the first month or two that I use this workbook. So in household, it looks like I was reasonably close. I think I am going to stick with the $100, though. I think that's a reasonable budget for me for household. Um, it may be that I need to go up, but I'm going to give this a couple months before I sort that out. Particularly if I'm able to separate the household expenses, the sundry items from my grocery bill. I did go to BJ's this morning and I did make that separation between what was purchased at BJ's that's a food item versus household. So if I do that, then I need to put more money on this monthly budget. But again, I'm going to feel this out over the for next couple months and see what this should really land on. Utilities are I'm going to always have $600 because my highest utility bill occurs in winter time. My electricity bill is averaged throughout the year, and so it doesn't fluctuate a whole lot, but my gas bill does. And I use my gas most in the winter time. Personal, I'm going to leave this as is for now. I believe I'm going to need a sinking fund for this, and I'll explain why. So most of the time that I purchase things for myself, they're larger items. Um, they could be considered entertainment or they could be considered household, but if I'm buying it just for myself for purely selfish reasons, I'm going to put it in personal. I don't use makeup. I don't use special hair care products. So having a personal budget category for those type of things does not make sense for me, but it does for things that I will go out and do that make me feel good. Um, I used to get my nails done all the time. I would love to be able to go do that again. That would probably be more than $50 a month. But as time progressed, this personal budget item may change. But I need to kind of get through a few months before I really sink in on that one. Food, I'm going to leave at $400. I think initially when I started this, if we go back and look at my first months, I did set it at 150, but I kind of knew right away that that wasn't going to be correct. I think 400 is more realistic for what I do with this household. Um, if I didn't have my children and the grandchildren in the household, it would be significantly less, but there are other people in the household. And there are also other people contributing to the household expenses as well and buying groceries. So um, that's not just me contributing to our food in the household. Um, there are other people buying food and actually contributing to the costs. Um, but for now, I think I'm going to keep it at 400. I don't think there would be any reason for me to go more than that. But again, because all of this is new, tracking in this way, I'm just going to go with the flow and we're going to see how we might need to adjust. Healthcare, I do have a sinking fund for that. Um, Obviously, it was not set up at the time that this expense came in, so I wasn't able to pull from it, so it had to come from general funds. This is just the balance due after all of my insurance paid out for my bills for my foot injury last year, um, which I think for everything that I had done, that's not an unreasonable amount to have to pay. Entertainment, I honestly I had to have been fooling myself when I put $50 there. Well, number one, the all of the streaming services cost more than $50. And entertainment for me includes my hobbies like crocheting and video game, all of those things. So $50 is completely unrealistic. This will adjust. I just don't know how much. Let's see how things go over the next few months, and I will adjust that as needed to really be accurate. Transportation, that's going to be about spot on. Honestly, it'll be typically less. I do have a sinking fund for this, so for things like the taxes, the maintenance, registration fees, I'll be pulling money from those for those types of expenses. But for gas, or if I want to put like a freshener in there, that'll be few and far between because I work from home and I don't drive a whole lot. I'm close into the city and it's very convenient to anything I need to get to. I can be there. I can be at the Civic Center for the games in less than 10 minutes. I can be at a grocery store in less than 3. So everything is very close, and I get gas maybe once every 3 to 4 weeks. So transportation costs are going to be minimal. Pet care, this amount right here, this is not this is more than I need for pet care in a month. I went and did an analysis of what I spend in Chewy and how many tubs of litter that I need to buy in a month, and that will be adjusting next month. This expense is it's atypical of what will be spent in a month for my pets, but if things arise and you need to take care of your pet, that you just go do it and you take care of it. Um, I do have a sinking fund for these types of expenses that may come up. So in the future, any type of unexpected medical expense for the pet will come from the sinking fund. Gifting, I went over a little bit, and that's on par for the way that I gift. I do have a sinking fund for gifting, and I will try and be more realistic about what I spend versus what I say I'm going to spend, so that I don't go over budget when it's time to gift for people. Because it's February, no spend February, I'm on the fence about whether or not to give some little Valentines for my 2 grandsons. I probably will. I would think that it would not be considered in a category that should count as no spend. Um, so I may have a small expense for gifting next week, or excuse me, yeah, it would be in a week or two in February. But generally speaking, it's April, May, December, and January are the only times that I really have any expenses for gifting. Holidays, I do have a sinking fund that I'm starting, but I really haven't contributed to it yet. And that'll just be like if I wanted to go get some Valentine's clings for the windows so the boys have something fun to look at, that's kind of what that would be. Or, something like that that would be fun to have in the house. Koma Creates is a category that I created so that I can track what I'm purchasing to stream on YouTube. When I started purchasing a few items here and there and I realized how much it was costing, I was like, oh my gosh, I need to really make a category this so I can track it, so I can see how much I'm spending. I don't anticipate spending anything in this category anytime soon. I do have some ideas about improving what's happening while I'm recording, things that you guys can't see. But if I do that, I'll just make sure I show that I'm going to budget it for that particular month. Travel, I mentioned that even though my debt was really high, I wanted to secure this particular house because if we didn't, then we would either end up spending more later or we would end up in a house or a location that we did not want or that was not appropriate for the number of people that are going to be on that trip. So securing that was important to what I want to do in my life. And we have to do the things that we enjoy. We have to still live even though we're dealing with debt. The mortgage is I typically would in the past, before things got out of control, I would spend $300 over what the mortgage actually was, so that I could pay down the principal. I had not been doing that, but next month I'm going to start back up, so the amount will be $1447.12 instead of $1147.12. I have a long-term savings that I contribute to that is a Roth account, after-tax account. Of course, I do have money coming out of my paycheck from my employer, who also contributes towards my retirement. But this is just in addition to that. As an older person, you have the ability to contribute more to things like this than if you were younger. And I am an older person, so I contributed $770 to sinking funds, and finally I just had $66 of miscellaneous expenses. And these were actually bank fees, which is what I'm really trying to minimize during this interim of getting my debt paid down. So, as I mentioned, all of these expenses are totals from both of my savings and my credit card. And there's a reason why I want to do that, because ultimately I want to pay down my credit card balance. So after that, what I want to do is transition away from using my credit card as much as I do. And I really used it as a convenience, as a tool. Um, and I would always pay my balance off at the end of the month. But I think I'm just going to move away and only use it when I need to, say when I'm transferring sinking funds, but I'm going to go ahead and pay it down right when the expense is made. And I think transitioning into that, it's important that I know what are my spending habits. What am I actually spending that is in both of these accounts? Because that's the only way that I can transition from not to using both of these accounts to just using a checking account. That is to have that knowledge. So what I did was I added up all of these expenses in both of those accounts, the checking account and the credit card account. And then I found out how much debt I accrued within this period that all of this represents. And it's actually $4,746. So from this total, this amount then, the $3,995.90 is the cash that I paid for all of these items. So I'm calling this my adjusted expenses. I took the inflow, subtracted the adjusted expenses, and I came up with $4,897.24. And this represents how much cash I paid towards my expenses, what was left over after that. Sorry, I've got some of my numbers have rubbed off. And then I added how much debt I paid for the month, which was $4,894.62, and that left $2.62, which should represent how much I will roll over into February, but that's not that number's not right. It's actually $36.62. There's $34 missing, but I'm not sure where it is in all of this, and I'm not going to be bothered to find out. I think it's close enough, and maybe next month it will actually be exact, but I know that after all of this was said and done that I have $36.62 in my checking account, and that's what this bottom line should be. I mean, I don't know if you can see it, but I have written and erased so many times here, and I think that's why my numbers were starting to disappear, is because maybe it just leaves some type of residue on the paper. But that's where I stand. After all was said and done, I think I was fairly close to, first of all, figuring out what my budget actually was. And then second of all, meeting my budget. With some obvious exceptions, right? I mean, very clearly this is an obvious exception. This is an obvious exception. And then this is an obvious exception. So the good thing about part of this is that I am creating sinking funds that are going to account for these overages, right? Right now, I don't have an account to cover these things that I know may come up throughout the year. Once I get into putting money into my sinking funds, this will be less of a problem, because I'll be accounting for those expenses in my average for the year, not just in a month, because it's going to change every single month. So after I did all of this, I went ahead and I dropped those numbers into the yearly spending overview. Let me go ahead and bring this up a little bit. And, again, because I'm doing the whole credit and checking deal, when I came down here, I had to do a little bit of finagling, right? Debt accrued, debt paid, right? To show that. And then the other thing was, I've watched the budget mom do her monthly check-ins, and you watch her and it seems so simple, but watching is so much different than actually doing. So here I am trying to figure out still whether or not I keyed this in correctly, because I was kind of expecting this end balance to be the amount that would be forward to February, but it's not. It's my beginning balance. So I'm sure I did something wrong here, but for now, I know that this represents how much I spent on households in January. So as long as this is good and I get to the end and I can see what my yearly totals are, I think I'm going to be okay with how how this has played out so far. Adjustments may be made next cycle. I don't know. But for now, this is the way this is looking. The other thing that I wanted to do was point out the, see if I can find it. Yes, here it is. This is the debt payment plan. So I want to kind of point out how much debt I paid. We did show the total amount a little while ago, but I thought I would just go ahead and explain why that much is here for those of you who don't know. So when I received my statement earlier this month from US Bank, they said that I have an adjusted balance due of $4,258.48. My actual balance of that account is $5,919 at that time. And the reason there is a difference because in the last fall when I incurred a 9,000 plus expense to fix a leaky basement, and by the way, totally worth it because it's been raining a lot. We've had flood warnings. Before last fall, I would be in the basement in the middle of the night in my pajamas, standing in a doorway with rain pouring on me, water up to my ankles, using a shop vac to shop vac water out so it stops coming in underneath a door in my basement. And this is what I've lived with for years. And I finally said, you know, this needs to be fixed. I just can't keep dealing with this. And they came in and it was very expensive. So point being is like it was difficult to do, but last night when I'm sound asleep and I don't have to worry about water coming into my basement, that's a great thing. That is a great thing. So that's how I got that extra debt. Um, and I really didn't adjust very well, right, to having that extra debt. I could have done things better, but here I am. So I need to pay $4,258.48 on my account by February 10th, so that my credit card company will not charge me interest for the next billing cycle. I was unsure whether I was going to be able to do that certainly by the end of January. I was thinking I could pick up a little bit in the February paycheck, but I really wanted it done by the end of January. And really what happened was at the last minute, at the very last minute, you guys, I received a tax refund. Unbelievable. $944 came in, and of course I absolutely put that on the debt. Um, but I filled this thing out last week and it came in this week. It was so fast. I couldn't believe it. So anyway, that really came in at a clutch moment. And if you look at how much I paid, you can see that the amount that I paid is well exceeds the amount that was due. And that's good because right now the balance before all of this was paid was 9,000. Give me a second, I'll look it up. $9,992 right there. That's what that was. It's crazy. So we're getting that balance down, and that was really a win for me this at the end of this closeout. Let's see. I did the check-in. I did the yearly view, did the debt payment plan, and I think that's about all I wanted to share. The other thing that I noticed, let me go back. So as I was completing this and I was going in and I was looking for tips on how to complete this part, I was seeing videos of people who were posting the conscientious workbook, I think it's called, conscientious spending plan. It's from back in 2023, I think, is when it originally came out. But the guy who built that, his advice is that from the amount of money that you earn, there should be certain percentages that you use for household, for uh, caring for family, for transportation. You should have a certain amount of money that you're saving, and there should be a certain percent of your monthly inflow. I mean, it's it's an interesting idea, because he says if you're within those guidelines, then you'll have an amount left at the end that you'll have completely guilt-free spending, right? Now, I don't know that I would say that I would just completely blow whatever might be left over at the end of the month, but I kind of want to go do this little worksheet, and I'll probably record that a little bit later. Um, and I thought it would just be interesting to see if my totals and my percentages were within this one man's recommendation for your spending habits. So I'm probably going to do that a little bit later. If you have any suggestions for me about how to include both of these things in here, I'd be happy to hear it. I mean, you may have already sorted out a way to do all of this stuff, and it might not be as complicated as this. And if someone has any advice about that, I would love to hear it. Um, so, if you do have something to say, please put your comments below. In addition to that, for the sake of engagement, consider leaving a like if you enjoyed the video, if this content is something of interest to you. And if you have nothing to say but still want to help me with that engagement, please, put a $ in the comments. Those type of activities really go a long way to help grow the channel, and grow our community. Speaking of community, I have created a Discord channel. The link is up there in the channel description, just above where the videos post. I have different categories. I like to crochet. I've got my current on the hook project shown out there. I've got a pets channel, in addition to some other channels, including budgeting. So I'd be happy to start some conversations over there. That platform just is different than Facebook, and I think it's better for conversations about things. So hopefully I'll see you over there. Hope to see you at the next video too. Again, my next video will likely be the conscientious spending plan video. And then following that next week, I will have a weekly check-in for the first week of January. See you soon.